Nick, we were talking before the show
Pistachios
about
first.
talking to police, and
Don't do it, but yes.
oh, that's
Don't
every
do it, yes.
expert I've ever seen on YouTube or talked to in person gives that same advice. Say nothing. If they're colorful, they'll say shut the fuck up, right? That's the advice we always get.
Right. Shut the fuck up Fridays from the Justice Brothers.
I know them. Yes, yeah. All right. But on the other hand, we've all had experiences where, you know, the cop pulls you over speeding and you're like, yes, I spilled the milk. I'm so sorry. I don't typically spill milk. I'm not a habitual milk spiller. This one exception. I made a mistake. And, you know, if you could see fit to let me off with a warning, I'm the sort of guy who deserves it. This isn't me. This is what I think police want to hear when they pull you over. I made a mistake. This isn't who I am. Can we let it slide? If you just say, I don't talk about my day, I don't like police, I don't answer questions, you're probably going to go to court. You're not going to talk your way out of it.
Yeah, it kind of depends on the feel you get from the cop. I've run the gamut of cop interactions. When I was driving home from law school one day, because I went to school at night, and I was driving home, and it was 2 hours away. So I was getting home. It's like 1 a.m. And I was so close to my house, and the speed dropped from 65 to 55, and I just wasn't paying attention. I was dead tired, and I was probably going like 70 or something. And the guy pulls me over, and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, dude, I just got out of law school. I'm tired. I'm sorry. Right. And he's like, yeah, it's fine. You know, I know you just missed the signs. Like, I'm like barely alive. Just my house is a mile and a half from here. Can I just please go home?
To be honest, officer, this is akin to drunk driving. I'm so tired.
It's like, he's like, yeah, just get out of here. I just want to make sure people are staying safe. And that was fine. Like, and you could kind of tell from his demeanor that it was okay. You know, but so people kind of take this advice, don't talk to the cops, really, really literally. And you should. I mean, if you really want to protect yourself from a ticket, not talking to the cops is the best way to protect yourself. But what you're talking about isn't protecting yourself, right? What you're talking about is basically being candid and just asking for a little bit of mercy. And that's a way to do it. But on the other hand, I got pulled over by a really pissed off cop, and I was definitely speeding. The problem was I thought I was on a different road because I kind of spaced out. Did that thing where like you get into hypnosis, and I thought I had already exited onto the faster highway. And so I was just driving like I was on the other. So I was speeding like 10 miles over the other limit. And so I'm like 15 over this one. Cop pulls me over. He goes, "You know, I pulled you over." I was like, "No." He says, "Do you know what the speed you were going?" "No." "You know what the speed limit is?" "Nope." "Do you know where you are?" "Not at all." And then he gave me a warning. He's like, okay, because he couldn't actually tag my words to pin me down to a ticket. And this guy was pissed, right? Like he came up to the car. He was hot. He was angry. He's like kind of huffy. And I was like, well, I guess I just gotta say no to literally everything he says. Because otherwise what you get is you get an admission. Yeah, I know. I thought it was only 5 over or whatever. You're still speeding. That's still an admission of guilt. And once they can write that down, that statement from you, they've got you in court. Like you're not going to go into court and win. But if they have to go in and prove it, you know, maybe what you do is you go in there and you ask the calibrations, the calibration record of the machine. You check the weather. Was it really cold? Could that interfere with the radar gun? You start asking for all this stuff, and it becomes really expensive for the cops to get $130 out of you. And they don't fight as much. So like for actual legal protection, saying for my advice on getting pulled over is just say no to anything. It's not illegal to not know how fast you're going. It's not illegal to not know what the speed limit is. And it's not illegal to not know what road you're on. So you can safely say no to all those things. Your results may vary. But
I feel like I'd be like, no. And he'd be like, here's your ticket. Fuck.
When I got arrested, it was a long time before they asked me a question that I didn't feel comfortable, like at least replying to. Because for a long time, there was no sort of like, oh, do you think maybe this happened and that happened? We weren't talking about what was happening. I was like, can I get a smoke? First of all, I knew the cop, one of them. And I was like, Jimmy, can I get a smoke? It's like, yeah, come on, let's get in my car. Like, they're not handcuffing me yet. I hung out in his car for half an hour while they got their warrant and smoked. you know. But it was like an hour and a half later, but when we were sitting at a desk somewhere, I was like, you know, I think that's where I stop answering questions and start, you know, sending it to my lawyer. Y'all gonna need to talk to him because I don't know anything about any of that.
Well, that's the move, right? The police are very, very good interviewers. They do it all the time. So they get very, very conversational with people. They get to know them. They're like, hey, we're just trying to help you out. What's your name? What's going on, man? And they encounter people who are usually in a rough spot in their life. Lots of people, depending on the type of crime that they're encountering, but lots of people are encountering crime because they're in a bad place. And so the cops get really good at sort of that diffusion, build rapport really quick, like a salesman, and kind of get conversational. It also helps them get those answers that they're looking for. So that's one thing to remember, is that they're very good at this, and you typically are not very good at answering that type of stuff, because you might only get arrested one time in your life if or for a lot of people it's never. Some people get really good at it, right? You live in the right hood,
but they've got a script. Like they've done it. They do it every day.
Cops and like officers of various federal agencies have always been some of the more friendly and personable people that I've met. And it's like, man, under different circumstances, I'd really like you, dude. Like that, I almost always walked away from like my dealings with cops, at least good cops, and with thinking like, seems like such a nice guy. I wish we weren't on the opposite ends of this one. I wish I knew something about those.
In another world, we could have been friends.
For real. Yeah.
It serves their purposes really well too, because, you know, if they're approaching someone who's in distress, they have a weapon, maybe they don't know what this person's up to, right? They don't know what they're capable of. They're coming into a situation. It's much better most of the time to lead with some kindness and be approachable rather than come in, you know, full force jackboot. Otherwise, they might get shot or stabbed. The person might have some murder suicide intention. You never know what that person's up to. But if they can calmly approach them safely, like don't see a weapon or whatever, that's a beneficial way to do things and to keep the situation cool before whatever happens next. And they may have plans to arrest that guy in the most rough way possible. But it's always good to start off like, hey, what's going on, buddy? How you doing?
What's going on with what are you doing with both of those guns? Is one not enough? I have
a legal question, because this keeps it's not a good one, but anyway, here's the deal. The police finally
Woody's got a question.
So the police finally found out about all my murders, right? And here I am being questioned, and I say, you know what? No more questions. Talk to my attorney. But low key, I don't have an attorney, and I don't know how to choose one. I'm in the room. I have maybe one phone call. What do I do? Google Maps? Like what?
No, they'll bring you a phone book,
and then you just use that to choose your attorney.
Find one.
We just got to get out of the room, right? Like you just need a guy that gets
you just
bail,
turn
right?
to the names and hope for the best.
Just don't go to the first one, because that guy's just there because his name starts with A.
Yeah,
he probably changed it to that.
I got fucked. I went with Aaron Aronson again.
But no, it's I mean, if you can't get an attorney, you know, they have to stop asking you questions, and you can petition for a court-appointed attorney at that point too. Say, hey, I don't have an attorney. I need an attorney for this. I don't have an attorney. You know, you're under arrest. They can't just keep you without providing that. If you qualify, you can't just lie. Like, well, I got $100,000 in the bank. I can't afford an attorney though. They're like, okay, well, here's one. No, but if you go through the same process that you would get for a public defender, and they'll get an attorney for you if you need to. But otherwise, they'll bring you a phone book and say, here you go. Call whoever you want out of this thing. But
that's what they do.
The other thing, cops, when you invoke your right to remain silent or your right to an attorney, they have to stop interrogating you. But the trick is, not everything they do is an interrogation, right? They can start talking. And the most common thing they'll do is talk to their friend next to you about whatever, to try and coax you into saying something about, like, to correcting them. No, that's not what happened. And then the interrogation can continue because now you've injected yourself into the conversation. So that's the hardest thing for people to say. I'm shutting up. I want to talk to my attorney, nothing else. And then they just don't. Like they sit there and they're like, no, I mean, he had it coming. but yeah. But they have to give you the opportunity to get an attorney. You don't have to have an attorney, although you should. Like if you're a gun owner, for example, you should have an attorney that deals with those types of things, that you can call if you get arrested for something, especially like a self-defense shooting or something like that, or your gun gets confiscated. You're at a bar, you're involved in a bar fight, and they're like, oh, you can't have this at the bar. Whatever it is, you should have an attorney who's familiar with those issues as a gun owner, because it will help you rather than calling up the guy in the phone book, right? Like you don't want that guy. You want the guy who knows what he's doing.
And it won't cost you a ton to just go to a guy's law office and get his card. You don't have to have a gun retainer. You just have to figure out who the guy is and have his business card in your wallet.
It seems like bullshit that public defenders aren't available for wealthy people. Like firemen are available for wealthy people. They don't say, you know what, you could afford a fireman, therefore we're going to charge you. They don't say that about police. They don't have toll roads that ask for your 1040s and say only wealthy people have to pay these tolls. There are very few government services where they restrict them from you, where they say you can't have this because you could buy it privately.
Public defenders are the equivalent of welfare. It's like you can't get anyone here to speak for you?
That's a strong point. It's bullshit that welfare is not available to wealthy people.
I want some. I heard Chicago's got that $500 universal income comment, and it's like right off the top, huh?
500 smackers.
500 smackers every year, I hope.
That'll get my heroin addiction going. It's fine.
500 a month. Like that'll buy all my drugs. And they're legal there, so like we're getting somewhere already.